Okay. Hello and welcome everyone to the League of American Bicyclists 2022 National Bike Summit. This session is titled Building Community Through Fun and Creative Youth Bike Education. We'd like to thank our sponsors for their support and contribution for the success of this year's summit. My name is Deltrice Daniels, and I'm a League Cycling Instructor, and your moderator for today. We just have a few housekeeping tips for you. And we like to remind you that this session is being recorded. So if you miss anything, you can go back and watch it. We also encourage you to watch this in speaker view so you can have a bigger screen. And we also have live transcripts available if you choose to need them. And if you don't need them, you can turn them off. And let me make sure that I got everything. Oh, yes. And don't forget, you can view the full summit agenda in the Kubota app, and you can check out other sessions that is going on for this session. We also encourage you to turn on your camera so we can see your beautiful face, and feel free to rename or name yourself in your box. You can add your pronouns if you would like, or you can add your state if you would like also. We have a jam-packed session for you with 4 dynamic speakers who is going to share how they are building community with youth bicycle education in their neighborhoods. Our first speaker is Sam Balto, and he's a physical education teacher at Portland Public Schools. We also have Nicole Chandler, who is a community school coordinator in Little Rock, Arkansas. We have Danielle King, who has been a Safe Kids Thurston County coordinator for over 10 years, and she is excited to be a part of a team that is bringing permanent pop-up traffic gardens to the families in the communities that she serves. And we also have Amy Kubota, who is the founder of KidCycle Club with over 15 years of experience in the children's product industry with several certifications, including a League LCI certification. Now, enough about me talking, because we have a jam-packed session for you, and we're going to get started with Sam.
Thank you so much, Deltrice, for the introduction. I think we need to stop sharing the screen real quick. All right. So I'm actually currently in London right now, checking out school streets, the low traffic neighborhoods, biking around, and just enjoying myself a lot. But I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to talk about a PE teacher's perspective on bike education. So a little bit about myself. I've been a PE teacher in Washington, D.C., Boston, Massachusetts, and Portland, Oregon. And through being a PE teacher, I've become a Safe Routes to School advocate. This is some of the initiatives. Actually, I feel incredibly honored to be presenting with Nicole, because we were diehard advocates for the school in Roxbury, Ellis Elementary. And after 2 years ago, we got $980,000 of infrastructure improvements to that school community, which was really exciting. And that is Tom Brady's face on a school crosswalk sign to bring attention to the unsafe crossings by the school. I'm a diehard phys ed teacher. During COVID, I ran PE in the street. So every single day, Monday through Friday, I held PE class for the community. Every family had their own physically distant square, as you can sort of see in the top right corner. I had a boombox set up, and we did activities within our squares, being physically active, and just having a great time, but being safe and keeping distance. And I was supposed to come to the League of American Bicyclists 2 years ago before COVID happened, to help Fanula with her traffic garden pop-up, but that was canceled. And then kind of everything else for children was canceled. Schools, buildings, parks, camps, playgrounds, rec centers, leagues, hiking trails, pretty much all opportunities for children to have free play were closed during the pandemic, at least at the beginning. And this really got me thinking about creating places and opportunities for children to be physically active, locally, hyper locally, on the street, And traffic gardens just fit in beautifully with that, with bike education, learning those skills, but doing it as close as possible. So the first was a traffic garden sort of figure eight I did with chalk, and I had the local kids test it out with rollerblades and push bikes. And then the other one is the first traffic garden I actually spray painted and made more permanent than chalk was at my school in Portland, Oregon. And implementation can be as simple as just using chalk, which goes away pretty quickly. The second time we sort of did hunched over with spray chalk, and then we sort of realized we were going to keep doing this, so I purchased the lining machine. And 2 years plus, those lines are still on a lot of the playgrounds. Something that I really love about traffic gardens is that they are an amazing tool for building community, for education, for STEM, for tactical urbanism, communities being able to come together and create something. And this is an amazing partnership that happened recently in St. Paul, Minnesota, where 3M partnered with the school and painted a traffic garden. And you can see it was a whole community event with children being engaged in it. And I think traffic gardens at schools are so important. They're a community space. I know during COVID, that was a hub of where students and families would go for physical activity and for other services that Nicole, I'm sure, will share more about. But being able to create something and to create more places for physical activity is incredibly important. So over the COVID period, myself and a group of teachers, we spray painted 6 traffic gardens, which I'm very proud about. These are Google Earth views of 5 out of the 6. And it was just really cool to be able to create that space. This was very low cost. I think total was under $200 in spray painting and the lining machine. I've been tracking all the traffic gardens that have been created since the pandemic. And I have a map that I think will be shared in the comments section. And you can sort of track all the different traffic gardens that have popped up with photos and where they are. So as a phys ed teacher, I understand the importance of bike education, but it is not easy to implement. There's logistics, storage, acquiring bikes, classroom management, costs, differentiation of instruction, lesson planning, organizing volunteers, and liability. It is not easy. I love bikes. I love safe routes to school. And I've only done bike education 2 out of the 7 years that I've been teaching phys ed. And I did it in Boston because of the model that they had, where they brought trained professionals to my school, where I just was there to help with the schedule and the management. And the trained professionals were the ones who did the instruction. I really believe that this is the best model. I know people have other opinions, but I really think it is so important that we make it as easy as possible to have bike education at school. Phys ed is all about learning lifelong skills for being physically active. Walking and biking to school, has countless benefits, the more we're physically active. And this is, I think, something that's incredibly important that I noticed as a teacher is I call them memorable memories. We all remember where we were when we learned to ride a bike. I know exactly where I was. I was with my dad at Candy Cane Park. Being able to create that memory at school is a positive memory those children will always hold on to. So the more that we can create those opportunities for children to learn to ride at school, that is one more positive experience and memory they will have with our education system. And then finally, 3 takeaways. Create as much car-free space for children to learn to ride bikes. School parking lots, I think, are a great opportunity because they're closed so much of the school year. Make it as easy as possible for PE teachers to run bike education. Remove all the barriers, provide the bikes, provide instructors, make it super easy, and use bike education as a tool for placemaking, movement spaces, and community building. Thank you all so much. You can email me, follow me on Twitter, and I really am so excited for the rest of the presenters.
Thank you so much, Sam, for that. We have next Nicole, who's going to present. And I wanted to also mention, everyone, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat box and we'll make sure we'll get to them before the session is over. Nicole?
All right, can everybody see the screen? Good. All right, so I'm Nicole Chandler, Community School Coordinator, Chico Elementary in Little Rock, Arkansas. So what I'm going to talk about, some of it builds upon what Sam just talked about. So this is just our school mission, just so you can kind of get a base of where we are coming from as a school. I won't delve into that. And so for those of you who are not familiar with the community school, it's a partnership between our school district and the city around supporting high need schools, ensuring that they have equity and equitable access to the resources they need. And these are the 4 pillars that make up a community school. So our bike education program falls into expanded enriched learning times. So we were fortunate to have All Kids Bike come to our school earlier this school year. They are a national program that wants to get kindergartners learning how to ride bikes through PE class. And so our program is sponsored by Coca-Cola Consolidated, along with other schools in the Little Rock School District. And they are up to 9 schools that either have the program or will have the program this school year. So what their program entails, so teachers get trained online. So it's designed by teachers for teachers. It's 8 lessons. You get a bike that's for the instructor. As you can see, 24 bikes, 24 helmets, pedal conversion kits, and a 5-year support plan. So these bikes are not your traditional bikes with training wheels. These are balance bikes. So kids are learning how to balance themselves until they're able to add the pedals onto the bikes. And you'll see some pictures here in a second. These are our partners that help us with the program. That's delivery day when they brought the bikes to our school. So these are examples of the bikes. You can adjust the seats and the handles like any other regular bike. The guy in the black shirt is Wayne Lilly, who works for All Kids Bikes. We had a really big kickoff event for it. It was successful. All the media came out to see cute kindergartners learn how to ride bikes. So how does this program work with our school goals? We're a school that's a Leader in Me school, which I'll show you what that looks like as far as habits. It's based on the 7 habits for highly effective people. So providing that social emotional learning for students. It also aligns with the work of our healthy lifestyle goals of our health clinic. So we have a school-based health clinic on site. And so one of those things that they like to reinforce is that we are living our best life as it relates to our physical well-being. And so having a program where kids can get active and move around is a great opportunity for those 2 worlds to intersect. Also, it's a way for families to engage. I do carpool duty, so I noticed that there are a few families who have bikes in their car or they have a bike rack attached to it. So hopefully, kids are riding bikes outside of PE class. And it's a way for the kids can do something with their family. And like Sam said, have those memories that they can grow and have for the rest of their lives. And it also highlights the needs for a safer built environment. The community that my school is in is a largely Black and Hispanic community. So sidewalks are not that great condition. In general, it's not an environment that's built for people who are not in a car. So it's great that we have this program, but if we're not creating communities and spaces for people to bike, then we're just teaching kids a fun skill that they can have, but not creating the space for them to do it beyond school grounds. So as I said, we're a Leader in Me school. That's what that looks like as far as the 7 habits, in case anybody wanted to know. So these are some kids on the bikes. They had a blast. They thought they were on NASCAR, but they were just in bikes. And it was a great opportunity. You could tell some kids had been on bikes before and other kids had never been on a bike. But it was just a nice moment to see all these kids come together. So we've learned a lot, some of which Sam touched on. So we have 120 kids in kindergarten. Most of them, it's their first time ever learning to ride a bike. We have a full-time PE teacher and a part-time PE teacher who facilitate the classes for us. We're not as far ahead in the curriculum as we'd like, with 6 classes and that many kids at different levels. It's hard to do things as you would like to do, which Sam alluded to. And the PE teacher, his long-term plan is to get kids outside. We actually have an old traffic garden that was used when pre-K students used to learn how to ride bikes at our school. So I would love to bring that back to life. And some kids get upset when they mess up. You know, I think it's just nature when you see somebody else doing something and you don't get it, you get a little mad. But hey, we practice and we get better at what we're doing. So it's okay. This is a picture. I just happened to be walking by one day to the health clinic and I saw the kids and they were actually cheering and had a little song they made up for their classmates. And it was really cute to see the kids encourage one another to do their best and to have fun. So some of these things Sam mentioned, a lot of this we had thought about before we agreed to do the program. But once something comes to your school, then you're hit with the reality of what it is that you've signed up for. I think for us, the biggest thing is storage. We're a school that's maxed out with the number of people we have. We don't have extra storage. So we have to get creative about where we put these things. So if anyone has suggestions about storing 24 bikes and helmets, feel free to drop them in the chat box because we're always looking for solutions aside from just stacking the bikes up against the wall in the gym. But you can see these are some things you can consider when you're planning to have this program. And the last point is, you know, leveraging this opportunity to change and bring to attention to elected officials, your city government, that, you know, healthy communities need to be serving everybody, not just road users who are in cars. And the position I have is very unique, but I'm also passionate about this work. So I leverage that to bring attention to these issues. So I serve on our city's Complete Streets Master Plan Committee. And so because of the job that I have and knowing we have these programs and the transportation is an issue, I just kept pushing. And so this is one of their plans for the school to have a kind of a neighborhood trail that connects our school to the other elementary school to the neighborhood park. So once again, using this moment to push for advocacy, to push for change. And this is also from the event. That's our mayor talking to the kids about his experience riding a bike in our neighborhood, which is where he's from. So that was a great moment. Those are bike racks that I requested. We have a few kids that bike to school, not every day, but occasionally because they live next door in the mobile home park. And so previously they were just locking their bikes to random places. And so since there was money allocated for the work that I do, I requested that we get bike racks. And that's my information. If you're interested in participating in All Kids Bike, you can email Wayne and then follow us on social media for our journey. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nicole, for your presentation. Very enlightening. Now, we already listened to Nicole and Sam talk about traffic gardens. Next, we have Danielle King, who is going to also share her experience with pop-up traffic gardens. Danielle?
Thank you. My name is Danielle King. I am from Olympia, Washington. I work for the Child Care Action Council. I am the Safe Kids Thurston County coordinator there. We're part of a coalition, which is International Safe Kids Worldwide. And about a year and a half ago, a colleague I work with at one of the other organizations asked me if I had heard about traffic gardens. And I hadn't, so I did some research. And as everybody else is saying with COVID, it seemed a perfect fit because we could get kids outside who've been inside working, with school, who've been in front of, oh gosh, I'm sorry. Get a little nervous. So I thought it was a great program because people who are passionate, regardless of where they're coming at, they could get behind traffic gardens. So for me, it's unintentional injury, which is Safe Kids, their mission to prevent unintentional injuries. It's a great public work, artwork. You could see from my pictures, it's beautiful. They're beautiful no matter how they're done. It gets kids outside working. So for physical activity, gross motor skills, there are so many people concerned during COVID regarding, getting together, but staying apart. So there's great activities that you could do. You could be together, but everybody could be kind of biking around each other or walking or rollerblading, whatever they want to do. And it also just brought communities together. And I'm sorry, oh, there we go. So we received a grant from State Farm, their Good Neighbor grant. And there's a local school that my colleague worked with. They actually have a PE bike program. The PE teacher is very involved, and we received the grant. And so we got a group of wonderful volunteers together. We ended up having 2 committees. We did a design committee and we did an installation committee. And what we ended up doing is the design committee, you could see up there, we were Zoom meeting everybody. We had an engineer, the school facilities was on board, and the teacher took the design to the students. We decided what we wanted the kids to see, what we wanted them practicing on school grounds. The school the area around has really exploded in growth. The street in front became a main arterial street. So they're putting roundabouts everywhere. There is a development behind, there's lots of kids nearby. Actually, they were luckily putting up wonderful sidewalks, so it was a safe place to bike and walk to school, but we wanted to teach kids to do that safely. We ended up using one of the kids' designs. It was inspired by them. We had a couple of high school students that were in a design class. They did the CAD work for us. And so the design group, then we switched over to the installation group. And you could kind of see there the upper looking down from a drone. So the school, we ended up getting it sealed, a big 100 by 100 foot space, but there was a little space between the school and their play shed that a local Eagle Scout to get his badge, he and a crew, they cleaned that area and they painted that area themselves. And then we ended up moving from design to installation. So we had volunteers come out, and on a Friday, we laid down the design from the CAD drawings. And then on a Saturday morning, we had a really big work group, actually, that was, again, scouts, and actually a bunch of high school students came out, and then there were some families who came, and we painted the background. And you could see people also painting other parts of the playground because they had to move some of the four square and all off of our area. So you could see everybody working. It was in a really fun day. And then we had the school come in after that and use their expertise to draw the lines. The engineer, who's a volunteer, spent a lot of time because he had to show up for every single one of these events. So he was there this day too to make sure they're drawing the right lines. We really wanted to look like a real small streetscape. And then these are teachers. Some teachers came out and painted some flowers. There's so much more you could do with more time, and I'm sure that they could come out any time and add some things to the green spaces. Overall, it probably took us about 2.5, 3 months to do the whole process. And a lot of that being was waiting. We live, like I said, in Olympia, Washington. So we constantly had rain. We'd wait for a weekend and then it would rain. And so actually just getting the guy to come out and seal the asphalt was probably the biggest thing. We had to wait for the area to dry. But once we were able to go, it didn't take that long to put it together. The school is able, you could see the overhead. The school, actually, they have a side door right from the gym. So the PE teacher she just goes right out with her bikes and she's able to use the traffic garden right there. We had, it was great press. And the wonderful thing about that is sometimes it's hard to get into schools, but as soon as we had the event and the mayor was there, we had the news from up in Seattle came down and did a story on us. You could see back there, that's the sign we put up for on site. We got calls from other school districts asking to be involved. So we actually just started last week a meeting with another local elementary school. We also got grant funding from State Farm again this year. Of course, they were very pleased with the end result. And so we had our first permanent traffic garden. We'll have another one roughly the same size, hopefully by June. Then we also had the TBI Council Washington wanted to be involved. So they gave us money to hand out helmets at school and to also install some pop-up traffic gardens. So we picked 2 schools in the summer where they have school programs. This particular school has a couple programs including each day, including one where anybody could come and for free and you could get a lunch and then you could stay there all afternoon. So we wanted to make sure we definitely were somewhere where kids were going to be biking in, hanging out, and then leaving. This traffic garden was our first time doing a pop-up, so it took us about 3 hours. I'm sure now we could do it quite a bit faster. So that was the one at Garfield Elementary. You can see we worked with actually the Ole Police Department and the Parks Department, and actually our local health department came and put that one together. And then we came another weekend and we were at another school putting up this traffic garden. This one took us about a couple hours to, and we just use spray chalk that then when it rains or gets used a lot will go away. And then the TBI Council of Washington was really excited about the project. So they asked if I could put together a quick booklet. It's about 7 pages long. They really wanted me to kind of condense down just the nitty gritty of how you would put together a permanent traffic garden and how you would do a pop-up traffic garden, including lists and, quick checklist. So the document's done. I think they just need to take it to printers. And the hope is, I think what they want to do is make sure that every Safe Kids Coalition could get this book, and our tribal nations could also use this if they like. And then they also asked me if I could come up with what I consider to be a great pop-up traffic garden starter kit. And so I put together a list. I mean, anybody could go to any vendor they want, but I put together a list, bought all the supplies, made like little homemade arc markers. And then also I had developed just with cardboard some big, like a 6-foot crosswalk that made it easier for me to spray. And so they were going to take those and make them into hard plastic, something that could be rolled up. And so I think the hope is that the coalitions who like one in Washington State could get the booklet and could get the starter kit along with those extra stencils, which I think it ended up costing me about $330 to put this kit together. Anybody who wants more information, please, I'd love to share anything I have with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle, for sharing that wonderful presentation. And I know that public speaking could be a bit nerve-wracking, but you were great. And so last but not least, we have our friend, Emmy Kubota, who's going to share her presentation with us. And you're up, Emmy.
Oops. Hi there. Sorry, I'm fiddling with my screen. Okay. I'm Emmy Kubota with KidCycle Club, and we use the bicycle as a vehicle to power confidence and connection in kids aged 12 months old to 12 years. The first stage of our learning is striding. And so we use a pre-balanced bike, and that can actually be used as early as 6 months old around the house. This little one is 16 months old when she learned to stride down these hills. We take the balance part out of the equation. So these little pre-balance bikes are less tippy than the 2-wheel balance bikes. The next level is learn to glide. So he's about 2 years old, and he's really picking up his feet and gliding and feeling the power of the wheels taking him forward. At this age, they're really, they have less inhibitions, and so they learn more quickly, and they learn balance skills that'll last them their whole lives. Then we take them out to the pump track and dial up the shred factor, and they learn to super glide. This one was 2.5 years old. He's now riding a pedal bike on his own, but this was last fall. And they really, at this, using the pump track as a tool, they develop intuitive body positioning skills for climbing and descending, which is useful for riding single track and trails. then we take them back onto the smooth paved surfaces. So we use a basketball court or tennis court or a parking lot. And we set up cones and flags and obstacles, sort of like a pop-up bicycle garden. And we get the parents involved and do a learn to ride for 2.5 to 4 years old. And basically we take the pedals off completely, and then we'll put one pedal on and we scoot around the whole course with just one pedal on, and then we switch pedals and scoot around with the other pedal on. And then when they're ready, they can get both pedals and get a little boost. And at that point, we really try to assess, do they have the balance skills and do they have the bike handling skills in order to put it all together with the pedaling. So as you can see, it can be really fun to get outside with your friends and ride bikes. This is my daughter with her buddies, and they were 3 at the time, riding pedal bikes around the neighborhood. So we also do programs with older kids where I've done basically, I limited it to 5 to 8, and then I had students asking for it older than that. So I have students, I just ended up combining it all. So 5 to 12 is sort of one big chunk, and they do it without their parents. And often they've never been on balance bikes. So they may need a little bit of time to get adjusted to it, but they usually pick it up pretty quickly depending on their level of coordination and their listening skills. One thing I've noticed is that as kids learn to pedal, they often regress in their trail skills and pump track skills. So it usually goes back about 6 months. So my daughter started pedaling a bike at 3 years old and, could stride on trails and pump tracks and go really fast. But when she started riding on the pedal bike, then, she was really nervous to do the pump track. And then she got more used to it and was able to have a lot of fun practicing on the pump track. So we kind of overlapped with a strider bike on trails and the pump track, and then a pedal bike on greenways and paths. And for kids, they usually start with a seated pedal like these two are right now, and eventually they stand up to pedal around the pump track. And as they get a little bit older, they can pump around the pump track, and then eventually they'll get to a dynamic carving standing pump around the pump track, which I'm still working on myself. This is not really a phase, but I thought it was cute. My 3-year-old was pulling me with a bungee going mountain biking in one of the local, in Ben Creek, which is a local mountain biking area near our house. She just makes me really proud. She's gained a lot of confidence through biking, and it makes me happy to see that. All of her buddies will be learning to shred, and they'll be getting ahead of me pretty soon. They ride big 20-inch geared bikes that can roll over anything. And I had to hire a coach recently so I could keep up with them. And we base everything on our pyramid of priorities, which are safety, fun, and learning. And here's a little video to show you how it looks in action. Can you hear?
No.
Emma, you might want to stop share and reshare and put the check boxes on the sound. And do you remember how to do that? Just share screen. And then at the base, there's a share sound and optimize for video clip.
Oh, sorry.
Just click those.
Audio settings.
No, you want to go to share screen.
Okay.
And then at the base of that window that pops up, there's a share sound little box and an optimize for video clip box. Those both should be clicked.
I don't have that.
Oh.
Do
you want
maybe
me to
do you want to share
yeah.
the video? That'd be great.
Sure. Okay, hold on one second. Can you see that?
Keep going, keep going. Oh, go, Irene. There you go. And stop at the top. And then go, Benji, go. Stop. Stop, use your brakes.
Use that ramp. They
All
love
right,
the ramp.
coming this way. This way, this way, this way.
So much. You guys can contact me. I'll put my email in the chat.
Fantastic. Thank you, Emmy, for your presentation, and thank everyone for our presentation. Now, I mentioned that we was going to have a jam-packed session today, but I did not know it was going to be so colorful, so beautiful, everyone's presentation. If anyone has any questions, I'm going to check the chat box right now for any questions. See if anyone has. And I wanted to just mention that this session is recorded and you'll be able to view it again later at your convenience. And the slides also will be available. No, let me see the recording of the session. Okay, so a question was asked to where we can find the slides at.
Yeah, the whole session will be, the video recording of it will be available. So that'll have all sets of slides to it. I mean, if you want specific links, and Sam, I'm going to add the links in the chat box, which you asked me to do. While in the, if anyone has links in their presentation, maybe we could add those.
Yes. Now, I did want to just follow up with some of the topics that was talked about in the session. Sam, you mentioned that you have a that there's a Google Map view of the traffic gardens throughout the United States.
Yeah, that's, I think it was just added in the chat. I've just sort of been collecting all the different, they show up on social media or as they just pop up across my screen or shared with me. I've just taken a couple photos, identified the location, and sort of made a pin. It's been really amazing to see how many have been created in a short amount of time.
Yes, that's good. Thank you for creating that. Technology is amazing now. A question was asked about storage of, and this is when Nicole was doing her session. A question was asked about storage solutions. So I wanted to mention that a suggestion was to have a 20-foot shipping container with hooks inside to hang the bikes. So that is an option or a suggestion. for if anyone is looking for storage solutions, and if they have access to a 20-foot shipping container, that probably will be a lot of space to store a lot of bikes. Someone also mentioned that they built a roller storage cart based on the All Kids Bike Storage Cart design, and they love it. So I don't know what the All Kids Bike Storage Cart design is. Maybe that can be also dropped in the chat for other people, such as myself, to look more into that. Someone asked, can you share the bikes between different schools to offer the program to more schools with the same bikes? And also share with programs like the Boys and Girls Club for the summer. I think that might have been asked with Nicole. Yes,
So,
Sam?
I'm actually trying to get all kid bikes at my school and try to fundraise the 5,000. I sort of asked them about this, and they sort of, it gets confusing then, because if a school specifically fundraises and then you're passing it around, the longevity of the bikes and the logistics and all these sort of things get more complicated, which is like, I think a great idea is if like a school department sort of takes on the fundraising, and then we sort of.
Oh no. Oh no, I think we lost Sam for a moment. So I think what maybe he's alluding to is having the school as the district as a whole to take on the fundraising for the bikes. So then the bikes can be shared within the schools itself, instead of a individual school to take on the bikes and then try to share them. So hopefully Sam can come back pretty soon. Yes, someone mentioned that it would be great if bike companies such as Saris can help develop bike storage for these balanced bikes. Very good. Okay, let me make sure. Here's a question that was for Nicole. I don't know if you answered it yet, but it was, who did you raise your funds? Who did you raise funds for your project? From whom did you raise funds for your project? They are looking to set up at least one school, and wondered if we should look for corporate sponsors or ask parents across the district for funding for that one specific school. And I think that was going to what Sam was alluding to.
Yeah, we as a school didn't raise the funds. I messaged someone, I think who asked that question, but through community schools, since we work with the city of Little Rock, they're able to apply for grants grants on our behalf and or develop sponsorships for us. And so they were the ones who actually got the sponsorship through Coca-Cola. So we as a school did not fundraise. But if you as a school want to fundraise, or you all want to develop a list of sponsors that you want to approach, I would say definitely go ahead and do it. You might be surprised. People probably want to support kids getting healthy and kids having fun. And so don't limit yourself to thinking that parents don't want to contribute to their child's betterment. So definitely look at it both ways. Try to see if parents can give something, but also look at those sponsorships and also look at grants. Like Blue Cross Blue Shield is they're the only main insurance company in Arkansas, but they have a lot of grants throughout the school year. So consider grants through like insurance companies that might be able to support the programs as well, or your hospitals that are looking to do maybe health equity work, just as a few options.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Which also segues into, like you mentioned, that people want to support the children and they're willing to help, which then I want to mention that Danielle, in your presentation, you had the high school students that was helping with the CAD design. I think that is amazing. Someone wanted a starter kit. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we actually wrote into the grant to actually pay a stipend to the students. Our hope was that they would pick a couple students that might not have thinking past high school as a career option, but were passionate that this would maybe fuel some interest. And we're doing that again this year with a couple high school students at our the traffic garden we're working on now. Yes.
Someone mentioned to, oh yeah, to you again, Danielle, that they wanted a starter kit. So they sent their email in the chat for that. And let me keep going. Let me see. Everyone is just saying thank you for the great presentation for everyone. Such good words, such colorful presentations, so inspiring. So everyone keep up the good work on the panel and also in the audience, because we're all here at the National Bike Summit. And it's amazing that this year it is called Choosing Our Future, and what great presentation here that the youth, they are definitely our future. So if anyone has any other questions, I just want to remind everyone also that you can save the chat so that when this session is over, the chat will be saved on your computer. And so you can go back and look at the comments and look at the contact information for anyone that you would like to reach in contact with. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Oh, here's a question for you, Emmy. Did you build the pump track or was it in partnership with the city?
It is a partnership with a private bike park that I pay admission for each student, but there are a couple of free open community pump tracks nearby. They're just not quite as close. And I would love if there were a community open free pump track available to all. I feel like there could be, they've required quite a bit of maintenance unless they're paved.
Okay. Sounds good. A lot of messages. Okay. All right. So if there's any other, does anyone have any last minute things that they want to mention? If not, we will thank you again for your time of this session, and we hope that you enjoy the remainder of your time here at the 2022 League of American Bicyclists National Bike Summit.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great time.
Thank you.
Let me save the